what's been the technical advancements to drive this evolution from a DBA into a data engineer?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think there's a few things all happening around the same time, but one of the bigger ones would definitely be the birth, evolution, and adoption of the cloud. With AWS is obviously one that I'm more familiar with and gonna
Yeah.
talk about mostly, but with AWS, if you're using, let's say, Redshift, which is, I think we're talking about 2013, and then adoption drove after that, but you don't have to have someone worrying like, is the disk full, or did one of our nodes or our hard drive, is this going to fill up? Is this going to fail? That's all abstracted away. These things, the word abstraction is important. Like, these things still come up and it's something that can cause issues, but a lot of those details are abstracted away, and you can just say, all right, someone else is dealing with it. It's not my problem today. And every so often those abstractions can be leaky, and you'll see, okay, a node fails, and we actually get those emails. I'm sure, hope everyone is signed up for those alerts, but a node will fail, and then you get an email, or ideally what would happen, let's just say, is your ETL is running overnight, and you wake up in the morning, everything's run successfully, and a node failed. It was replaced 10 minutes later, no big deal, auto recovery. Whereas in the previous world before the cloud, DBA would be responsible for waking up, getting paged, waking up, figuring out what's going on, talking to someone in their on-prem database setup, whatever that might be, or if it's a rack in the closet, they'd have to go figure that out. So it's a very different setup.
So do you think, so cloud's been the main driver, you think?
I think that's a big part of it. I also think that there's, when I say these other things going on, more investment in the data world, or businesses want to invest in data analytics and have these more mature data systems. And if we're relying on big data analytics as a top tier business goal for different businesses, it's different. You need to invest in having a top tier data program. So you need reliable runtimes, you need tested data, you need QC, you need dashboarding. All of these things come together, and you need a new role to ensure that all of that runs smoothly. And that's the role that, at least in my opinion, that a data engineer steps in to fill. There's lots of different little, call them niches, like a analytics engineer, machine learning engineers, DBAs. I'm not saying they're gone, but there's less of a role. Maybe it's more of a niche now. There's data BIEs. There's lots of different roles that exist where maybe there was just a DBA and a BIE before, or something like that. I'm using a lot of acronyms. Do you want me to go through what all that means?
That's fine. Audience should be fine. But yeah, so I guess it's just evolved, and then I guess their roles into another job thing as well.
Yeah.
So you said.
Yeah, it's the data, as you nailed it. Like, the data sets are growing. The size of data that is stored in the world is growing. There's just more and more investment in this area. So there need to be more, it's not necessarily, but there are, because there's more specialization, more investment. There are more roles just to deal with all these different specific needs you might have. A startup might not need DBA, data engineer, analytics engineer, ML engineer, but a company like Amazon, obviously, we have every problem you could have, name it, we have those problems. So we do need a lot more job families and specializations. I've been at startups where it's just a data engineer and a data scientist. It can vary depending on the need.
Yeah, I definitely think, obviously, like, the more investment now, especially, I mean, there's massive investment now, isn't it, around big data, especially data engineering roles we get. It's a lot more like Spark has been a massive driver. That's been a massive change in job specs. So like Hadoop, all them type of technologies is coming out now. So there's definitely that massive investment from businesses.
100%. I should have mentioned that earlier, that distributed computing, which Redshift kind of goes along with that as well, but distributed computing is a whole new skill set, different languages that are needed, different familiarities with these frameworks, hence these different job families and job titles as well.
Yeah. I mean, now you're getting like, DevOps is fairly newish, in my opinion. Obviously, it's been around, but it's obviously a new role that's evolved. But now you're getting like data ops and things like that. So it's constantly going, isn't it? It's constantly more jobs being created, basically. more roles.
Yeah, and a name is only as useful as what people know it by. So if you keep coming up with new job titles and names and so forth, but I think the industry might lag a little bit behind and play a little bit of catch up because I don't know what a data ops role does. I can imagine, but it just depends what people find useful.